Welcome to Closing Time with Jeff West. I'm a local real estate in Elgin County. And today I have a special guest. He is a local general contractor with touch of class group, Kayle Kneckles. Whether you're renovating before you buy or sell a house, or you're looking to buy a fixer-upper or planning your forever home, or you just want to renovate your own, we're going to talk about things that add value, why it's important to make sure you're hiring a professional, and some of the costly mistakes that they see often. Welcome, Kayle.
Hey, Jeff. How's it going?
Good. Good. You want to give us a little introduction about yourself and your company?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Kayle Kneckles, as Jeff mentioned. I'm the owner of Touch Class Group. I've been in business for coming up on 19 years. I started when I was 18, officially registered when I was 18, started when I was 17. Originally started off doing landscape construction, decks, fences, interlocking, pools, etc. And as time went on, I decided to branch off into doing a little bit more due to just passion for construction in general. So I bridged over into doing interior renovations after hiring a college friend, lifelong friend who specialized in that area to take on major interior renovations.
Nice. Well, a lot of people don't really understand exactly what a general contractor does. So can you talk a little bit about what your role is as a general contractor?
Yeah, so as general contractors, we wear multiple hats. Knowledgeable and professional general contractor is knowledgeable in all aspects of the construction, from excavation to windows going on the house, roof, lockup, and taking ownership of a property. A lot of people use the general contractor name very loosely, but a GC is someone that will take care of everything from the beginning to the end. So from initial consult, talking to you, finding out exactly what it is you're looking for, what your goals are, what your budget is. We take all that information, we put together very detailed quotes. I preferably don't like to call them quotes. They're more like proposals, because it allows us to give you a lot more information to educate you on the project and what it's going to take to accomplish it. We help clients see them through the construction permits, the plan process, the electrical ESA, making sure that's certified. We help them with connecting with plumbers, HVAC, pretty much all moving aspects of a project from beginning to end. Typically, if a client is looking to do a renovation of that scale, they don't want to have to deal with all those moving parts by themselves. There's so many things that move in order to see a project from beginning to end successfully. And it's almost like as having another job. So having a GC takes away all that stress. One, they'll be educated in their skill. Two, they should be insured and they have connections already. Having those long-term relationships with trades, we get much better pricing than what a typical homeowner will get. Sub-trades usually price in the cost of doing a project with a homeowner higher than if they're doing it with a GC that knows exactly what they want. They will, for us, for example, we put out RFQs, which is a request for quote, to our sub-trades with detailed scopes of work, construction plans, and it gives them the ability to price out a job without ever having to be there. Yes, once they get out on site, there may be minor variances when the project starts, because HVAC may end up in a cavity where the plumber was hoping to bring his stack through. So there's always little minor things like that could pop up while a project happens, but we plan for these kind of things and we're able to adjust very quickly.
Yeah, and for those people that are watching, we actually have Touch of Class Group right now doing a major renovation for us on one of our properties. And one of the things I really do like about you guys is you do a lot of the work yourselves. So Yes. You're not necessarily subbing out all the jobs. You do have a lot of talented people on your team that take care of that work themselves, which is really nice too.
Yes.
Yeah. What are some of the things that homeowners should look for before they hire a contractor? I know I always try and, with my real estate clients, tell them you should get 3 quotes. But what are kind of some of the things that homeowners should look for?
3 quotes, definitely. Now, the thing with the 3 quotes is there's no real managing body for pricing in construction. You can get a quote that's $5,000 and you can get a quote that's $100,000, right? For like the simplest of things. So getting 3 quotes, yes, but use those 3 quotes to see who's giving you the most information? Who is making sure that you're able to make a educated decision on who you want to go with? The price isn't always everything. It's more so who's going to bring value. Who's going to bring value to this project? Who's going to show up on time when they say they're going to show up and not leave you hanging for days and then call you with, whatever came up story. Look for the company that tries very hard to not leave any details out. Make sure you're getting a detailed scope of work of what they're going to be doing and what they're going to accomplish for you. So there's an issue where this contractor is going to come back and be like, hey, that wasn't included. I didn't price you for that. It's going to be more money. You want to make sure that you're not just comparing price, but you're really trying to compare apples to apples. Who's going to give you the most information? Who's going to provide you with the most value for the work you're getting done? You want to make sure that if you're spending $60,000-$70,000 on a basement, that, halfway through you have to fire this trade, and now the new person that's going to come in is going to charge you that same 70,000 because they're going to take it all apart and have to put it back together. So you're out whatever the deposit amount was, anywhere from 25 to 50%, right? To me, those are the most important things you should look for, even if you're getting 3 quotes. Don't solely look at the quotes for price, which is what a lot of people do. And that's when things can go south.
Yeah. What kind of questions should homeowners ask when they are meeting with trades and GCs? Like, are there specific questions that you think are important that they should ask?
Yeah. How long have you been in business? Are you insured? And do you have any references or current projects you're working on that I can stop by? And if they have current projects going on, it shouldn't be an issue having you stop by to take a look at their site. Are they running a clean site? Is it complete chaos? Is materials there? Is materials all over the place, right? By visiting a contractor's site or a GC site, it can give you a pretty good look into how they operate. Are they going to be messy? Are they going to be organized? Are things going to run on schedule? Are things not going to run on schedule? If you go in there with that mindset, you'll be able to determine if that's a contractor you want to work with or have them working in your house, especially if you're going to be home and the property isn't vacant. You want to know that this contractor is taking the steps to protect your flooring wherever there's going to be high traffic from the trades working, protect doors. All of those things matter, right? Dust control as well, major.
Yeah. And, as a realtor, we go through properties all the time on a regular basis that people are getting ready to sell, and they want to know, what should we do? Where should we spend some money if we need to in order to get this house ready to go? And especially right now, we're approaching a balanced market, but it's been a buyer's market for quite some time now. And not like COVID, where we went in, you didn't have to do a thing. They could have broken tiles in the kitchen and put your house up for sale and it would sell. Where now you have to make sure the house is perfect. What do you think is kind of the best way for, where should they spend their renovation dollars?
Once they determine a budget point that they're comfortable spending, I would use that number and kind of work backwards. So if I know I only have X amount of dollars to spend on updating or sprucing up this property for sale, I'll find that number that I'm comfortable with and then work backwards. So let's say you have max amount you want to spend is $6,000 to $10,000. I'll say focus on things like painting throughout the whole property, making sure any caulking around the bathtubs or sinks or countertops is all done looking new. And also anywhere that you have damaged flooring, I would look into the next option of replacing the flooring in that area if it's a small square footage, or switching to something else like carpet or like a rug kind of thing. I wouldn't do the whole area.
Yeah.
Those are some of the basic things. But if you're really looking at return on investment, those are some things that you can spend minimal and get a nice return for. But if you're holding a property for a year or you're trying to turn it over or whatever, I would focus on things like kitchen. It's the center of the home. Most people are always in there at some point or the other throughout the day. Kitchens, 100%, bathrooms, and painting. Everything else is kind of like personal touches. I wouldn't go too far into, if the flooring is fine, I wouldn't get carried away and just do the flooring because I didn't like it. You don't want to do those things for yourself personally. If you're selling the property, you have to look at it as if, okay, if somebody else was buying this house, what is the majority of people looking for? And in a lot of cases, a realtor who's been in and out of a lot of houses will be able to tell you like this style of flooring is really in, right? Don't go to
Yeah.
something like this, for example, right? The
Yeah.
2 color options or 3 color options. There's so many flooring options, but it's usually between like the grays and the neutrals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I often tell my clients, I know that the only investment that is 100% return on your investment if you're spending the money is by adding a bedroom. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's as simple as putting an egress window in.
Yeah.
You know, I know flipping houses, that's the first thing we look for is can we add a bedroom down here by putting in a legal egress window so there's a means of escape?
Yes, that is huge. If you have a finished basement already, I would say 100% looking into putting in a bedroom, adding the extra space and putting in the egress window to make it a legal bedroom. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Is there
For
any
sure.
upgrades that you think people often think are really important and, you know, they don't really pay for themselves in the end?
Pools,
Yeah.
pools.
Yeah. Because there's
Very, very expensive.
yeah. And a lot of people think that they have a pool, so their house is going to sell for more money. But, you know, a pool now is over $100,000 for something very basic. And they deter a lot of buyers. Buyers that want a pool will pay for them. But yeah,
100%.
yeah, I agree.
100%.
So you think
Yeah.
kitchens are probably the best starting place as far as the upgrades go?
100%. A really nice kitchen you can work with, but a lot of the other things, like even a bathroom brings a nice return because it is considered a pretty big renovation for the most part. But a kitchen, definitely, that's a high ticket item that if it wasn't done and needed to be done, you're gonna notice it in the price that's offered. I feel like for sure, because the range for a kitchen can be, again, depending on the size, you're a 10 to 100, right? Very
Yeah.
easily. So if you walk into a house, you see a kitchen's done that you like the look, you like the layout, I feel as if it would be easier to accept something like that versus having a kitchen that needs to be done. You see flooring needs to be done, bathroom needs to be done. It starts to add up really quickly, but you knock a kitchen off of that list, I feel like buyers are more likely to be attracted to the property.
Yeah. Now, what about
Yeah.
finishing an unfinished basement? Because I have a client right now that's got an unfinished basement and
Yeah.
he's thinking long term down the road, is it worth getting it finished for resale value?
Yeah, if it's something that he is looking to get done and hold, I would say definitely will see a return on investment. More space, more living space. People, that's what they're looking for. You're now at the point where there's a percentage of the population that's getting older and you have to choose between are they going into homes or is it going to be better to move them in with you? Or the younger generation that just doesn't have enough savings or isn't able to save enough money to buy their own property. They're moving back home and they kind of want their own space. So having a finished basement with a legal bedroom, definitely a huge selling factor.
Yeah, we're seeing now, especially with the government being more lenient on like in-law suites. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people are going that route. Even some of the builders now are
Yeah,
building
I've noticed that.
specifically with in-law suites.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've noticed that. Yeah, yeah.
And being that you started off back in the landscaping days, I know that's something that just adding curb appeal out front, people drive by, can be an inexpensive way to
100%.
help sell the house.
Yes.
When you are, you know, when you're getting prepared to sell a house, what's one thing you notice when you walk into a house? As soon as you walk in, is there something that stands out as far as features go?
So because as you know, like we pick up a lot of houses, renovate them and convert them and stuff like that. Every house that we purchase, usually when I walk into the door and do our initial walkthrough, it speaks to me differently. I'm not sure how to explain it, but every house speaks to me differently. I kind of get a different feel for it. That's why most of the properties, their designs are different. It really goes based on what the house speaks, like what I feel it's looking for. For the first things I like to look for, though, is the smell. The smell of a house can tell you a lot. It can tell you if it's been a house that's been smoked in a lot, right? It can tell you if there's moisture issues, if you start getting hints of mold. And smell is one of the things that usually hits me when I first walk in the door. And I also look for walls. It's a thing that people look past a lot, but depending on the age of the house, the walls can tell you right away if it's going to be a property that you need to run tests for when you take ownership. Because the older houses, the plaster, the adhesive, it can high possibility of having like asbestos, right? So those are the two things I know if I'm going to purchase a house and if it's going to end up being very expensive reno or it's just going to be what I anticipate. Those are the two things that can usually drive a budget up. Detecting mold or mildew, not knowing where it's coming from, and the age of the drywall potentially having asbestos. Nothing is guaranteed with it. It has to be tested, but usually the age of the house and the look of the drywall would determine was one of the things I look for.
Yeah, no, I personally, Kyle, I can't hammer a nail in straight. So as far as DIY projects go, not something I'm great at, but some people
Yeah.
like to try and do it themselves. When do you think it's an okay thing to do a DIY project?
There's people out there that truly enjoy a DIY. When you build something with your own hands or you do something and you see the finished product and it looks good, it makes you feel good as well. So like I encourage people to do DIY projects. If you're looking to do some trim work, a little accent wall, some painting, caulking around the tubs, there's tools that you can use to make it easier for you. Like if you're hiring a trade for that, it's going to be so expensive. You might as well attempt it yourself. But there's a lot of things that, DIYers probably should not tackle,
That
right?
was my next
But
question.
yeah, there's a lot of things they could tackle. Some of the simple things would be like trim work, again, caulking, painting. You can tackle those things yourself, but like the next question would be, what
Yeah.
should they not tackle? There's
And
a
when
lot.
should they start
There's a
looking to
lot.
call a professional?
So pretty much the major things right off the bat, plumbing, electrical, and major HVAC. Everything else you can pretty much tackle yourself. If you mess it up, it's going to cost you to fix it, but at least you won't burn your house down, flood it, or release gases into it, right? Those would be like my three main trades that if you already have a constructed house and you were looking to have some work done, you don't cheap out on and you hire 100%, regardless if you think you can do it yourself. From my understanding, from insurance purposes, you should definitely hire a specialty trade for it. For myself personally, I can do plumbing, I can do electrical, I can do HVAC. Do I do it myself? No. I hire it out. I sub it out. I have reliable guys. I bring them in. They get it done quickly and they're out. And you know what? For my own peace of mind, I prefer to go that route and homeowners should too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I tell all of my clients that, electrical and plumbing,
Yeah.
absolutely do not touch, and make sure you hire
Yeah.
a professional because resale value
Yeah.
could be an issue down the road. And yeah, HVAC obviously it's great that you added that because yeah, you don't want any gas leaks or any of those kinds of problems at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Is there like something regularly that you see that would be a DIY project and you go in and went, what happened here? I know for me, it's painting. Like when I go into a home and I'm showing clients a property and I can tell that the minute I walk in the door and there's blue paint on the ceilings and it's like, oh boy, like I know some people are great
Yeah.
at painting, but some people aren't and they try it themselves.
Yeah. If you're not confident about it, especially like a lot of people will think it's like an easy thing, paint in the tray, take the roller, hit the walls. You can still mess that up. You can still see the paint strokes if you're not doing it properly. You can still see the roller marks. If you're cutting up between the ceiling and the walls, you'll notice. You can tell if it was done by a professional or if it was done by a homeowner. Even drywall patches. People don't really appreciate the skill that's involved in that, but your finishing can make or break an entire project, right? So drywall, taping, mudding, highly underrated, not appreciated enough in my opinion, because it's definitely a skill to make those walls as flat as they are. I mean, DIYers will try it, and by all means, go for it, but don't underestimate the skill that is required to do that.
Yeah. Now, without naming names, what's the worst renovation that you've ever had to fix? I actually might know the answer, Kyle. I might. I remember a place you bought in London that they put up their own garage or something at the back that was like falling off, and
Yeah, it's
it might not be the
usually
worst though.
it was pretty bad, but majority of the projects where we run into that bull would be typically when structural is involved. A lot of
Mm.
people think when they go into a property, they can, oh, let's just knock this wall down. It'll make this space look beautiful. Yeah, it's very easy to take a wall down. But the question is, what is that wall holding up above it? Right. And walls get knocked down and roofs come down, essentially, is how it happens. So I've been inside of a property where this homeowner had a renovation done and a wall was taken out. And we went into this property, we took a look at it, and there was a lot of sagging in the ceiling. And we went up into the attic space and took a look. And that wall that they took down happened to actually be structural. Now, when we got into the attic, the person or somebody, maybe it was a contractor or the homeowner, tried to fix this issue before, and they put a beam in the attic, but it's on top of the load bearing. Like it's on top of the load bearing section, and it's technically supposed to be underneath. The beam is supposed to be underneath, held up by two posts on either side. So we ended up having to go and take everything down, temporarily support this section of the house from the basement all the way up and put in beams. We had to put in new beams on the main floor and a new beam in the basement to carry the point load. So a lot of the time it comes down to structural that we are always fixing, whether it's improper foundations. Some people will, I guess, buy a house that was a deck event at some point, build on deck blocks, and they'll close it in and now turn it into a living space. But really and truly, this wall and roof that you just put in is being held up by deck blocks. It's not going to fly, right? So you know right there was no permit pulled for this project. And we always end up having to come in and fix these kind of things. The option is usually either tear it down or we go through the permit process. And that requires us to rip out subfloors and dig down footings from on the inside of the house, 18-inch diameter, 24-inch diameter footings, and putting in new LVL beams and joists and framing everything back in and having inspections done to bring it up to code. Very
Well,
expensive job.
yeah, you're making this podcast blend really nicely, Kyle, because that's our next step. Is we're going to talk
Oh, is
about
that nice?
building permits. Because is there projects like you just spoke of? What other kind of jobs require a building permit that homeowners might not realize?
Ooh, so for the city of St. Thomas, there's a height requirement, first off. Any decks, usually around anything more than 3 rise requires a deck permit. Also, they have a stipulation in the bylaw for square footage, and I believe it's around any deck bigger than 100 and let's say 60 square feet roughly, they require a permit as well. That would be one of them. And the other one that I feel the majority of people don't know about is a pool fence permit. Yes, you need a permit for a pool if you have an existing pool, and you should have already had a permit. But if you're putting up a new fence or repairing the majority of a section of a fence, you still have to pull a permit. And the city, it's very inexpensive, but you still have to go through the process of putting together a site plan and adjusting it, submitting it, and getting it approved. And then you have the final inspection at the end. If it's just the new fence, they want to make sure that the gate is self-closing. There's a height requirement. There's gaps requirements also in the fencing. So those are one of the things that the city requires you to pull a permit for that most people do not even think about.
Yeah, that's interesting. And like decks for sure are one of those DIY projects that a lot of people will
Yeah,
try and do on their own
yeah,
and might not know that it required a permit. So that
100%. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's great. Now, what happens if somebody completes the work and they don't have a permit?
Well,
I know for resale value, it's not good because
it's
often
not.
if I've gone into a home that's got a wall removed, and the first thing we do when we submit an offer is make sure that we have access and time to check to make sure that permits were pulled on that, because if it's not a
Yeah,
bearing wall and they've taken it out, yeah,
yeah.
exactly what can happen
Red flags. Yeah.
is what you said. Yeah.
Yes.
Like the city come
Well,
down, will they take the deck down or have you
it it,
take?
dep it depends on the inspector, right?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it depends on the inspector and the mood that they're in at that point in time. I can say the city of St. Thomas, in my experience, the inspectors are great. They usually will work with you. From what I understand, I typically pull permits for almost everything. If the client asks for a permit, I pull the permit, I'll put them through the process, and get it done. So typically the inspectors would say, you should have a permit. Here's what I'm going to need to inspect. And, if it's a deck and the footings are already poured, they may want you to dig a secondary hole beside the footings just so they can inspect and make sure that it meets the approved plans and it's going 4 feet down and the diameter is correct. Something like that is relatively simple and can be rectified relatively quickly. If the person building the deck knows what they were doing, right, then it will be relatively easy to rectify. Joist thickness of the joist and the span from the ledger to sitting on the beam or attaching to the beam, joist hangers, stuff like that is easy to rectify. If you know what you're doing, the inspector will come out, see it, and approve it. If you don't know what you're doing and you just kind of put 2x4s or something as your joist, you're going to fail and you're going to have to bring it up to code. And your worst case is they make you tear it down, which I've coming from the city east side of Toronto and working in the city of Toronto, I can tell you they make you rip stuff down and they don't care about your expenses of doing it.
Yeah. And one thing about, when jobs aren't permitted, and especially when you look at something like a deck, and my client bought a house this year in Dorchester, it had a huge deck. And after the home inspection, none of the deck was to code. And the inspector actually had concern that it was going to fall off the side of the house. So we renegotiated after our home inspection, and it cost those sellers $20,000. Yeah. So because it was quite a big deck, and my client was going to have to rip that deck down and rebuild.
And redo it.
Yeah. So they're certainly important to have, for sure.
100%.
So we're going to do a little rapid fire here, and I just want you to tell me what your preferences are as we go through. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Hardwood or luxury vinyl?
Depends on the application.
Oh, that's not rapid, Kyle. That's not rapid.
Okay, LVP.
Okay, so luxury vinyl. Yeah, I like the luxury vinyl too because it's waterproof. And the issue with hardwood, it's gorgeous, but if you have a big dog, forget about it. Quartz or granite?
Quartz.
Paint yourself or hire a painter?
Hire a painter.
Open shelving or upper cabinets?
Upper cabinets.
Okay, now this one is I think the next one's an interesting one. White kitchens or colored kitchens?
Ooh, yeah, colored.
Colored, yeah. I think colored kitchens, they just seem to be so trendy. Like I know the blues and greys were in for a while, then the grays were in, and white. I think white's safe.
It is.
If you're looking at resale, but now I hear brown's making a comeback.
It is.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
One renovation every homeowner should avoid doing themselves.
Kitchen.
All right. One upgrade every homeowner should consider.
Light fixtures.
Yeah. That's good. All right. So my closing question is, if you could give every homeowner in Elgin County one piece of renovation advice before they spend $1, what would it be?
Plan before you spend. Hire on value, not on price.
Okay, fair. So at the end of every podcast, I always do a feature on a small business. Well, I thought this would be an appropriate time to do one on a small business that I own and that you're a part of. So today we're going to talk a little bit about HomeReady Pros and what it's all about. So our mission at HomeReady Pros when I started this company was simple: to make it easy for a homeowner to find someone that they can trust and that's local and that they can hire with confidence. So whether you're painting a room, replacing a roof, renovating a kitchen, a bathroom, landscaping, tackling any home renovation project at all, we connect you with the businesses that are committed to quality workmanship, excellent customer service, and are fully insured. Because that, I think, is so important when you are looking at doing a home renovation, is that the people you're hiring do have insurance. I know somebody in Woodstock fell off a roof and sued the homeowner and they weren't insured. So my guest today, Kyle in Touch of Class Group, is one of the many outstanding trades that we have on our platform. Anybody local can go to homereadypros.ca and find everybody from electricians to plumbers to landscapings, pool companies, flooring, painting, concrete companies, anybody you need at all. Right now, I've purchased a property on Locust Street that we are doing a full renovation on. So we have gutted that home right back to the studs, electrical, plumbing, everything in that property. And just with that property alone, we have hired Touch of Class Group. So we started off with having Get Her Gone Junk Removal Company come in and remove all the stuff and the contents that was left in the home. Then we had One Hall Demolition come in and they removed the walls, the plumbing, everything in the house. Thermodyne Mechanical did our HVAC. Nova Plumbing did all of our plumbing for us. MK Roofing put on a new roof. OK Electrical did our electrical for us. Musa Concrete is there today putting in a new concrete driveway. We had a small leak in the basement, so we had JR Waterproofing come in, and that's been completely remedied with a warranty. We have Jacobean Kitchen putting in our kitchen out of Elmer, and Ontario Countertops from West Lauren are doing our countertops. Brad Fisher's Painting is painting our entire place, and Vision Flooring is kind of going to do the final touches by putting in our flooring. So thank you so much, Kayle, for helping us kind of organize everybody, get everybody lined up, and make sure things were running smoothly.
No worries.
As I end all of my podcasts, let's get closing. Thanks,
All
Kayle.
right. No problem. Nice talking to you guys.